Hello, and welcome. In this video, I'm going to be going over the 5-star standard banner characters, and how valuable each one is to your account in the form of a tier list. I will also be selecting my free 5-star at the end of this video, as I am just about to hit the 300 standard banner polls. And for those of you that don't know, when you get to the 300 standard banner polls, Honkai Star Rail lets you choose one of the standard banner 5 stars to add to your account. Before I get into it, I want to quickly say thanks to everyone watching. I really can't believe I'm at about 1,000 subscribers already. I really do appreciate it. Okay, let's get into it. Now, as every account is different, I will be creating 2 tier lists. I wanted to cover 2 opposite spectrums of the player base. The first is for the new players who are about to get their first standard 5-star from the Departure Warp, aka the beginner banner, or for those who are unlucky on their early 50/50s. The second tier list is for those who have played a while longer, and have a decent roster of characters to choose from, and also may be looking at some standard eidolons for their value. To start off, let's go over what characters are the best and worst for brand new accounts. So for those new players out there, MiHoYo is far more generous in Honkai Star Rail than their prior game, and provides you with 50 free pulls by the time your account is level 35, guaranteeing you a random 5-star from the Departure Warp. First up, we have Welt. Welt was actually my first 5-star, and I will say he felt really good for a new player, and I still use him today in some team compositions. He's an imaginary Nihility unit who does decent damage until very late in the game, but his most valuable attribute is his ability to CC an entire team, as well as slowing their action down. If built properly, you can run him with no healer or shielders, and he can CC so well your team won't be touched. Another bonus is his ability hits multiple times and shreds shields. However, it does bounce randomly, so it is far more useful on a single target than fighting a group. So with that said, I'm going to place Welt at the very top of A tier for a new player. Next up, we have Gepard. Gepard is an ice preservation unit. With his skill, he has a chance to CC a single enemy. His talent brings him back to life once per fight, and his ultimate provides your team with a massive shield. His kit does sound good for a new player, but unfortunately doesn't keep your team alive as much as a good healer would in the early game. And I would say his CC is worse than Welt's, and the talent he has is nice, but because his innate defenses are so high already, by the time this activates, you may already have a few down characters on your team, and his DPS may not be enough to win the fight solo. So I'm going to be placing him in the B tier for a new player. Up third, we have Himiko. Himiko is a fire erudition character. Her talent provides an AoE follow-up attack that attacks all enemies after one of their shields is broken. Her skill hits a single target and adjacent enemies, and her ultimate is also an AoE and provides her with energy for each enemy it kills. Himiko for a long time was regarded as one of the worst units in the game. However, she has started to increase in power and value with the new relic set that increases follow-up attack damage. But because this relic set is so late into the game, I'm gonna have to place her in B tier. Now for our fourth character, we have Bronya. Bronya is a wind harmony unit. She is a powerhouse of a harmony unit, providing so many advantages to your team. Her skill increases the damage of any ally and advances forward their action, meaning it forces the ally to immediately attack right after using Bronya's skill. Her ultimate provides an attack and crit damage buff to your whole team for 2 turns. And on top of all that, her technique also provides a party attack buff at the start of combat. Now without a doubt, I am going to place her at the very top of S tier. I don't know how you can follow such an amazing unit, but this next one can certainly hold her own. Up next, we have Clara. Clara is a physical destruction unit. Her unique talent is that she will call forth her robot companion Svarog whenever she is attacked to cause follow-up attack damage. Svarog does great damage, and Clara herself is a bit more on the tanky side, allowing her to take more hits than your average unit. Her ultimate enhances all these aspects even further. It provides Clara with a damage reduction buff while increasing her chance to be attacked, as well as provides 2 charges that make it so any ally hit triggers an advanced form of Clara's follow-up attack, causing Svarog to counter and splash damage on adjacent enemies. If you get this unit early on, she will help your team out so much. I will be placing her right next to Bronya on the S tier for a new player. Now for our second to last unit, we have Yangqing. Yangqing is an Ice Hunt character. He does very good damage in the early game to a single target. His skill gives one stack of a buff that increases his damage until hit. But once he is hit, there are some 4-star DPS that can rival his damage. Because he is a single target damage dealer, his usefulness goes down whenever there are more enemies on the field. And his value goes down the more DPS units you add to your roster. So even though he is quite useful on any boss you are stuck on during the main story, unless you are a fan of Yangqing, I would not recommend investing heavily into him. And I, unfortunately, am going to have to place him in the C tier. Last up, we have Bailu. Bailu is a lightning abundance character. Her heals are very powerful and scale off her HP, so she innately is a bit more tanky than your average unit. Her skill heals a single unit, and that heal bounces 2 more times randomly through your allies. Her ultimate is a huge team heal and provides a buff for everyone for 2 rounds, making it so if they take any damage, they receive a heal. Bailu's talent is super useful for a new player, as she is able to resurrect a random fallen ally once per fight. However, an issue she has is that she's unable to remove a debuff. But for the early and mid game, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. She is a great sustain unit, and every account wants at least 2 sustain units for when they eventually get to the later parts of Memory of Chaos. And because you only get one healer Natasha through the story, and you never know when a healer will be on the next banner, I'm going to place this unit in the A tier, just after Welt. That's it for this beginner tier list, so please let me know your thoughts, or how you may change this tier list up in any way. Let's now move things around and create our veteran tier list. This list will assume you have a good selection of units to choose from, and may already have one copy of these 5 stars. First off, you should have had a few chances of links, or even another 5-star abundance or preservation unit by now. Bailu's E1 provides some inconsistent energy regen for your team, but it's definitely not a game changer, and I would not recommend pulling for her this late into the game. So let's drag her all the way down to the C tier. Up next, we have Himiko. Himiko's strength does increase in the late game and with the follow-up attack relic set. Her value increases even more when fighting multiple enemies, and there's a lot of that in the endgame. So I'll be bringing her up into the A tier. Her E1 increases her speed after her follow-up attack is triggered, but if you already have one copy of her, I wouldn't recommend going for her E1. Our third character, Welt, is still holding strong in the late game, for breaking shields and even sustaining your party with his ability to mass CC the enemy team. His E1 is a good damage buff for his skill. If you're going mono imaginary with him, Imbibitor Lune, Yukong, Locha, or even the new unit Dr. Ratio, he's a great unit to have on your team. Or even if you don't have any good imaginary units to break shields, Welt is your guy. So for his rank update for veteran players, I'm going to keep him in the A tier. For our next character, Yangqing. I'm sorry to say, not much has changed here. In fact, he's even worse for the veteran player who has managed to pull on other limited banner DPS characters, as his damage just doesn't compete at all with what we have out there today, solidifying this unit as the lowest on my tier list. Let's move on to our third to last, Gepard. In the late game, he starts to really shine, and if you've been building him properly, should provide your team with massive shields. He is now able to solo sustain your party in most situations, and can provide a little extra crowd control. His E1 makes his ability to crowd control more reliant. For the veteran player, I'm going to move him up one spot to the A tier. Second to last, we have one of my favorite units, as I am a huge fan of follow-up attackers, Clara. Clara was strong at the start of the game, and Clara is still strong at the end of the game. She doesn't do as much damage as an S+ tier AoE DPS like Jingliu, but she still does really good damage. Is skill point neutral, and is very tanky even when built for pure DPS, which you should be doing anyway. I'm going to say Clara is the only DPS on the standard banner who can truly hold their own at the endgame with a variety of team compositions. She will be staying at the S tier. However, I would move her down a spot for your account if you got Argenti, reducing your need for physical DPS coverage. Or if you already have Clara, as her E1 focuses on her skill, and this would take away from her skill point positive nature. Finally, we have a character that I'm sure everyone already knows the placement of, Bronya. Do I even need to rank this unit? Let me start off by saying she is not moving from the very top of the S tier. She is so valuable for a team trying to clear Memory of Chaos by advancing forward your best DPS to go multiple times in a round, while also providing huge damage buffs. Even with the new Harmony 5-star Rune Mei, Bronya still is going to do amazing. We may even see teams using both Rune Mei and Bronya with a super hyper carry DPS. Her only drawback is her hunger for skill points, but her E1 helps out with that, making it so each time she uses her skill, she has a 50% chance to generate 1 skill point. Okay, that is it for the veteran tier list, and please let me know your thoughts, and how you may change the tier list in any way. Now I'm going to swap over to my live recording of me selecting my standard 5-star unit. Yeah, I think it goes without question, I'm picking Bronya. I don't have her.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's amazing, and here we go. Just double checking. I have her. Okay. Hell yeah.
What a roll.
Oh my god. Whoa, I got her.
Oh my god.
Okay.
First try, first pull.
Yes. Alright, we don't get another 300. That's it. And that's fine. It's fine. And that is it. Thank you all for watching this video, and I wish you all the best of luck on your 50/50s.